Black Rebel Motorcycle Club join us today. The two main members, Peter Haynes and Robert Turner, are here to do an acoustic set from Howl, the band's third album, which represents a move in a more acoustic direction for them. They changed record companies, lost and regained a drummer between their second and third albums. If you could see this interview, and if you had seen the acclaimed documentary Dig about the two bands, the Dandy Warhols and the Brian Jonestown Massacre, you might recognize Peter Haynes as a one-time member of the Brian Jonestown Massacre. We'll talk about that. The session begins with an acoustic version of Weight of the World, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. Black Rebel Motorcycle Club are our guest today, and that's an acoustic version from what has to call the acoustic album Howl, from them, the third album from this band. This is a fascinating story. If you are a Black Rebel Motorcycle Club fan, it's almost like we have a different band in a lot of ways. A reinvention of a band, I'll put it that way. And the story of what transpired between you guys' second album and this is really kind of fascinating, and it's kind of speaks of kind of rebirth of interest in what you're doing. And Peter Haynes, you could maybe lead us through that. Was there a point when, at the end of touring after the last album, when the band kind of almost ceased to exist?
Yeah, there was that point. Personally, I ceased to exist. As far as that, that mattered to anybody. Kind of musically, I guess I have to say, maybe lost the plot a little bit, got really kind of self-absorbed, it was kind of all about whining about, the show wasn't good enough for me, so that's what it was about. And I just kind of got wrapped too much up in that, But took a break and put your head back on,
And Robert, when you listen to this record, obviously this is a far more a quieter version, a more acoustic version. How would you describe it? How was the change for you guys? And why did it happen? Did some of these songs exist before this album?
Yeah, it feels like we've been kind of secretly writing these songs, in the back rooms and in the back porch of just about everywhere we've stayed, since we started. Me and Peter started playing in high school, so it was kind of back then, and we always felt like it was the other side of the coin, but we couldn't really find a way to kind of make the two sounds get along together. We couldn't find a way to do a rock and roll record and then also fit in some more kind of rootsy Americana or country or whatever you want to call it kind of songs. So we had to just give a whole album to this one sound, and I don't know if that was the way we initially wanted to do it, but that was the way it had to be done.
That was, I assume, Robert Bean, if you're singing it, it's your song on Weight of the World?
Sometimes it works out that way, and on that song, yes, that's true. Me and Peter write together. So.
Oh, okay. So it's hard to kind of name that. So I was going to say we're going to switch to the other side of the room. Maybe Peter do one you'll sing. Peter, which one do you want to do next?
A Complicated Situation.
BRMC, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, are our guests today, and that's an acoustic version of Complicated Situation, which you will find on the new album, Howl. And I guess it was Lou Reed who's here said, 2 chords is all you need.
Yeah.
And actually, he said one sometimes works.
One works really well, actually.
Good tune. Robert, you and Peter met in high school. Was it the music that brought you guys together, or how did it work?
Yeah, well, that and I think a girl I was trying to go after at the time, and he ended up kind of, I think, sneaking in there and taking a little.
Boy,
bit
there's stress right at the top. I don't know.
Drama right from the start. No, he had a guitar every day. He brought a guitar to school every day. And I was looking for someone to play with and just getting started. And he's the only one that I could see that knew anything about music. It was just didn't. East Bay of San Francisco, it wasn't a lot to be found there. So, surprisingly, found each other kind of quick, and Nick was only a few years later actually moved to the same area. Even though he's British, his family had moved there, so we all just kind of grew up together.
And we should, if you had, if this were television, people might, who were not necessarily fans of the band, might recognize Peter Hayes because you guys obviously played together, but for a while you were in the Brian Jonestown Massacre, and you're a movie star, of course. In Dig.
No.
I must say, speaking of dysfunctional band situations, you came off pretty well because you left.
Yeah, well, no, I feel, yeah, there's not much to say about that.
Well,
you know,
no.
I was helping out a band. I thought it was an opportunity to help a band out that I liked. And I feel bad for I do feel bad for the guys that started that band. That's what it was about. I feel a little bit weird that they actually I was kind of presented in a way as like, bam, there I am in the beginning as part of the band.
And
we had this band going before that.
Oh, okay.
But
So it
both,
wasn't you were just helping them out, and because of the time frame of the film, or how the time frame of the film was presented. We could put it that way too, because
I was still searching for things. I was a bit of a wanderer for a while. I was still trying to find mojo or something in music.
Black Rebel Motorcycle Club acoustic version of the more acoustic album Howl are here today, and getting a chance to talk with Robert Levon Bean. And
more acoustic.
Yeah, well, that's what it is, right?
Yeah,
and we're surrounded by a bunch of really cool instruments. And you've changed up guitars, Peter. So, what's next?
Well, I'm gonna try a version of Devil's Waiting, which is just acoustic guitar and vocal on the album. A couple of things come in.
Devil's Waiting, the early morning version of that from Peter Hayes. It's funny when I introduced the band, Robert. I introduced you as Robert Levon Bean, which people may be confused because you've been Robert Turner up until now, and just to avoid questions like the one I'm probably going to ask, your father is Michael Bean from the Call. What makes you comfortable now about changing your name to your name?
Oh, well, it was only just a minor smokescreen in the beginning, just to kind of. When our first record was coming out and we didn't really have a name for ourselves, I was hoping that the music that we made would stand on its own, and I didn't really want to trade on anyone else's kind of past, and for Peter and Nick and all of us to get an equal I probably overthought it, actually, as I'm doing now. But, there came a time where it felt, I just wanted my name back.
What do you guys want to finish up with?
Fault Line, you line?
Fault Line would be great.
Fault Line?
Fall Line finishing up our session today, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. That's Peter Hayes, Robert Levon Bean, and Nick Jago was here. He was here. I swear I heard a tambourine earlier. He seems to.
I think he went back to sleep somewhere.
who?
He's a ghost of vapor.
A ghost of vapor. God. Thank you guys so much for coming by.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I really
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
playing the music, man. Thank you very much.
And thanks for Howl, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, our guests. We'll be back in a moment here in the World Cafe. Thanks to the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club for joining us. That new album is called Howl. And if you are looking for it, we have it at our World Cafe website at worldcafe.npr.org.